You haven't filed for divorce. You haven't even had the conversation. But somewhere between the second baby and the 400th argument about who emptied the dishwasher, your relationship ended. You just haven't said it out loud. If that sentence made your chest tight, stay with me. I'm going to tell you exactly why 2 out of 3 couples fall apart after having children, and it has nothing to do with what you think. I'm going to show you what the research says about staying together for the kids, and it will gut you. And then I'm going to tell you the one thing the couples who actually survived had that everyone else quietly lost along the way. Researchers Alison Shapiro and John Gottman followed 130 newlywed couples from before pregnancy through the first 3 years of parenthood. 67% experienced a significant, measurable decline in relationship satisfaction. Not a rough patch, not a temporary dip. A structural collapse in how they felt about each other. And the decline was steeper and more sudden than at any other life transition Gottman's lab had ever measured. Steeper than retirement, steeper than job loss, steeper than grief. Having a baby rewired the relationship faster than anything else they had studied in decades of work. But the thing that destroyed those relationships was not what you would expect. It was not the fighting. It was not the screaming matches at 2 a.m, or the doors slammed so hard the baby woke up crying. It was the quiet that grew between 2 people who used to actually talk to each other. New parents stop having emotional conversations entirely. They stop asking how the other person feels. They stop being curious about each other as human beings. Every exchange becomes operational. Who is doing pickup? Did you book the appointment? We are out of wipes. Good night. A study on new parents' communication found that the most damaging shift was not an increase in fighting. It was the disappearance of positive interactions altogether. The appreciation, the affection, the small moments where you turn toward your partner just to share something, a funny thing the baby did, a thought you had while driving, a memory from before all of this started. Those micro moments of connection are what actually hold a relationship together. And they are the first thing to vanish when you are running on 4 hours of sleep, and your entire identity has been compressed into keeping a small person alive. She is in bed, scrolling her phone. He is next to her, doing exactly the same thing. They are 2 feet apart. They have not touched each other in weeks, not because anyone is angry, but because they have both forgotten that the other person is a human being, and not simply a co-manager of very small humans who need things constantly. Now this is where it gets deeply uncomfortable. A lot of you watching this are thinking the same thought right now. You are thinking, yes, but we are staying together for the kids. You are telling yourself the sacrifice is worth making. That the children need both parents under one roof, that you can survive being unhappy for another 15 years as long as they turn out all right. A 2025 study published in the Journal of Affective Disorders looked at children raised in unhappy but intact marriages and compared them directly to children whose unhappy parents actually divorced. The children in the unhappy intact homes had more depressive symptoms, more anxiety, more self-harm. Not the children of divorce. The children whose parents stayed together in misery. 82% of young people aged 14 to 22 said they would have been better off if their unhappy parents had separated rather than staying together miserably. The thing you are telling yourself is noble, the sacrifice you believe you are making by enduring. The research suggests it may be the thing doing the most damage to the very people you are trying to protect. Your children are not fooled by any of it. They feel the tension you think you are hiding behind closed doors. They absorb the emotional distance between you at the dinner table. They learn that love looks like two exhausted people who have stopped looking at each other, and they carry that definition, silently and precisely, into every relationship they will ever build for themselves. So how did it get here? Let me paint the picture from both sides, because both sides of this story matter equally. She is carrying what researchers call the mental load. Not just the tasks themselves, but the thinking about the tasks. Remembering the paediatrician appointment. Noticing the shoes are too small before anyone complains. Knowing which child has a birthday party on Saturday and what the gift should be, and whether the other child will feel left out if they don't get something too. A 2025 study of over 2,000 partnered American parents found that even as women's careers and earnings have risen dramatically, this invisible thinking work has barely shifted at all. It still sits almost entirely on her shoulders. And what makes it truly corrosive is this. Partners frequently disagree about who is actually carrying it. She says she is drowning. He genuinely believes they are splitting things fairly. Both of them are telling the truth as they experience it. And that gap in perception is the exact place where resentment takes root and grows into something neither of them knows how to name. Now picture his side of this. He comes home wanting to help. He asks what needs doing. And she snaps at him, because the fact that he has to ask is the entire problem. He does not see the invisible list running in her head at all times, and she cannot explain it without sounding like she is keeping score. So he stops asking. He pulls back. He feels useless and criticised and quietly shut out of something he does not know how to enter. Nearly all first-time fathers report exactly this. Feeling helpless, unprepared, and excluded from a bond that seems to exist only between mother and child. About 1 in 10 fathers develop postpartum depression or anxiety. When the mother is also struggling, that number jumps to 50%. 2 people drowning in the same house, both convinced the other one is fine, and neither one able to see that the water is rising around both of them. He does not talk about any of it, because the culture does not give him permission to. Fathers are largely invisible in perinatal research and perinatal care. Nobody asks him how he is coping. Nobody screens him for depression or anxiety. He is expected to be the steady one, the unshakable support structure, the person who holds everything together while quietly falling apart on the inside. Meanwhile, the intimacy disappears entirely. Couples with children under 5 report 30% lower sexual frequency than couples without young children. 15 to 20% of those marriages meet the clinical definition of sexless, which is 10 times a year or fewer. And the therapist Esther Perel describes it in a way that stays with you. She says erotic energy does not vanish after children arrive. It gets redirected entirely into the kids. Every ounce of playfulness and curiosity and tenderness and aliveness gets poured into the small people. And the adults, in her words, survive like a cactus. You stop being lovers, then you stop being friends. You become a logistics operation with a shared mortgage, a bedtime routine, and 2 people who cannot remember the last time they laughed together about something that had nothing to do with the children. And then something worse than all of it creeps in quietly. The contempt arrives. John Gottman calls contempt sulfuric acid for love. It is the single strongest predictor of whether a marriage will end. Not anger, not how often you fight. Contempt. The eye roll when he starts talking. the sigh when she asks for something, the quiet, corrosive certainty that your partner is somehow less than you are. His research predicts divorce with 93% accuracy based on 4 behaviours: criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. Parenthood does not create contempt on its own, but it builds every single condition where contempt takes hold: the exhaustion, the resentment, the invisible load, the identity loss, the suffocating feeling that you gave up everything you were and the person standing next to you did not even notice you disappeared. So what did the 33% have? The couples who came through parenthood with their relationship still breathing. The ones who beat the odds that swallowed everyone else. It was not money. It was not easier babies or better sleepers or more help from grandparents. Gottman's team identified one factor that separated them from every other couple in the study. He calls it marital friendship. It sounds almost offensively simple, but it means something very specific. It means you still like each other as people, not as parents, not as co-managers of a household running on fumes. As actual human beings you are genuinely curious about. You still turn toward each other when something small happens during your day. You still ask a question you actually want to hear the answer to. You still have at least one conversation a week that has absolutely nothing to do with the children, the house, or the schedule. They did not protect their relationship with grand gestures. They protected it with attention. Small, deliberate, ordinary attention. That is what survived in those couples. And that is what most people lose so gradually they do not realise it is gone until they are sitting in a quiet kitchen at 9:30 on a Tuesday night with nothing left to say to each other. I am not here to tell you to leave. I am not here to tell you to stay. I am here to ask you to stop pretending that the relationship survived just because nobody packed a bag. Name what actually happened. Say it to yourself, even if you never say it out loud to anyone else. The first step to reviving a relationship is admitting it needs to be revived. And the first step to honestly ending one is admitting that it ended a long time ago. If neither of you can see the other person clearly right now, that does not mean the person is gone. It means the fog of early parenthood is thick. And sometimes all it takes to start finding your way back is admitting that you are completely lost. If you are watching this next to someone on the couch right now, and you cannot remember the last time you asked them something that was not about the kids or the calendar or the house, that is your signal. Not to panic, not to blow everything up, just to turn toward them and say something that is actually real. Not about the children, not about the bills or the schedule. Something about who you are and who they are, and the life you are still allowed to want together. The bar is lower than you think. It is not grand romantic weekends or expensive therapy retreats or some dramatic reinvention of your entire marriage. It is one honest sentence. One moment where you look at the person beside you and see a human being again, instead of a role in a system that was never designed for 2 people to run on empty and still feel anything at all. 1 in 5 couples break up in the first year after their baby arrives. The rest either rebuild something real or they stay. Quietly fading, telling themselves the sacrifice is for the children. While the children learn, in perfect detail, exactly what love is not supposed to look like. You are allowed to want more than this. Both of you always were. If this said something you have been carrying but could not find the words for, subscribe. There is more coming, and all of it will be this honest.